I already know the stress of juggling your kids, your work, having to run errands that leave you feeling like you barely have enough time to create your video content. And it's the constant frustration of wishing you had more time, but the reality sets in and it's like you have none. But what if I told you there was a way to carve out creative content pockets of time so even when you're swamped, you're still able to crank out videos? So today I'm going to be breaking down my no fluff framework so you can stop dreading looking at your calendar every week, feeling overwhelmed, and go from looking at your calendar as a limitation versus being able to look at it and seeing possibilities and spaces where you can actually record good, effective content. Plus, I'll show you how to maximize the time that you actually do have, even if it's only a little bit, so you can spend less time planning, more time creating, so you can crank out more videos, especially if you want to avoid burnout. And we'll talk more about how you can do that if you want to record, edit, and upload videos even in a single day. But if you skip this first step, then you're already starting off on the wrong foot because you're going to be spinning your wheels, burning more time than you need to in order to get this done. So let's get to the first part. The first thing you want to do is look at the time block that you have. You don't want to prejudge any of your content possibilities and any blocks. Just look at what you have for the week, not for the month. And what we're going to do is look for gaps of time where we can start to earn you back more of your creative time with what you already have existing. So let's assume you're starting out with a full calendar week. You have your work block, which may be for your business if you're doing this full time, or it may be separated into blocks that you have for work and then the time that you have when you're off of work. Even if your schedule rotates from week to week or changes month to month or what have you, that's fine too. Let's work with what you have right now. Then we want to look at the demands you have for your time already. This could be your kids, this could be your spouse, this could be running errands, this could be grocery shopping, stuff like that that you do on a regular and consistent basis that you may block that stuff together already, like pick up the kids and go pick up groceries. Then we want to look at that time that you have siloed out specifically for yourself. And if you don't have any of that stuff on the calendar, maybe make a space and just type in me time on your calendar. So that way you at least know that's what you would like to allocate for yourself. And then you're lastly looking at the time that you have to sleep. Here in America, that may be anywhere from 5 to 8 hours. Some people sleep like 9 and 10 hours, just depending. But if it's like 3, 4, and 5 hours, just put what it actually is, not what you hope for it to be. So now that we have our time blocks, we want to observe and ask yourself the following question. Where do I have time I can compound interest and earn back time? The first time gap, you've probably heard this a million times, but I want you to really pay attention to it this time, which is the doom scrolling on social media. And I say doom scrolling, but it's not always bad. It depends on what kind of content you prefer to be curated to you. But regardless, this is time that's wasted. And we have to be very honest with ourselves and not lying to ourselves and saying, I'm using this for business time or this is education time, when the fact is that is not curated time specifically dedicated to learning something. It's different if you're watching a course video on YouTube or if you're watching a playlist that you specifically put aside to say this hour and a half is education time. Then that's fine. But if it's just scrolling reels or whatever, and there's some things that you enjoy mixed in between things that are for business or for content mixed in, it does not count. The average person in America spends up to 2 hours or more on social media per day. And usually your phone will tell you the truth of how much time you spend on the app. It's fine if it's like, well, this is not a full 2 hours, but it is like minutes here and there or whatever. That's fine. We're not committing those minutes then to social media. Look at what that time adds up to, and that's what we're using for our basis. The next thing that we want to look at that may come up for most people is travel time in your car. This is where we want to condense time frames where now we're taking that dedicated time in the car and we're using it for something else. Now this is drive time university. This is when I'm learning. This is when I'm focusing. This is when I'm doing something specifically for my business, but it's an audible experience only. It's not somewhere I can watch a video, obviously, but I am specifically looking for and watching or just listening for that audio education. These could be podcasts, these could be audiobooks, could be if you have like YouTube Premium where you're listening to it in the background or what have you, where it may be a curated and specific playlist of content, not just like your watch later or something, but a specific curated playlist that is a dedicated stop time for specific lessons or specific things on a unique problem that you're dealing with. That's the only time we're going to make sure that is considered education time, but otherwise find a way to use this time for an audible learning experience. Even though you have to pay attention to traffic and all that stuff, I get it, be safe, but you're going to listen to music, you're going to listen to the radio. None of that stuff is getting you closer to your goal, so let's put that to a greater focus. Now, the average American spends 1 hour or more in their car per day. So this is at least 5 to 7 hours in your car every single week that can be added and allocated towards audible education time. I've done this for years now where I'm not listening to the radio. I'm not listening to CDs or Sirius XM radio or whatever. I am specifically listening to curated playlists on my phone, or I'm listening to an audiobook or something like that. So I promise you it works. And that time does add up. So already, just simply looking at the time that we have, we're looking at somewhere between 7 and 9 hours that we have reallocated towards something that's getting us closer towards our goal. So this may not feel like a difference, but this is something that over time compounds and adds up. Now, your social media time, you can reallocate that to your audio education time, especially if you have like some kind of job that lets you use headphones. Now you're adding in maybe 10, 20, even 30 hours or more per week that you're able to listen, because most desk jobs or whatever it is that you're doing, you don't need to really talk to anybody. You are doing that stuff by muscle memory at this point. Now, pro tip, how do you take notes when you're doing this kind of stuff? Obviously, again, focus on whatever the primary task is, whether that's your job or you driving to be safe. I like to do stuff like having my voice memos on my watch, on my phone as well. And you can say, hey, AI automated person thing. So I'm not triggering any of y'all's devices. Start a voice memo. And then that voice memo will automatically start, and I will dictate what my actual note is. Wait till I get to a stop sign or a stop light or something like that. So if I'm on the highway, just let it roll and that's fine. Or I just may continue to talk throughout the duration so that I'm able to capture my idea, whatever it is, as I'm learning or what have you. And you can set up audible commands to your phone to start the audiobook, stop the audiobook, open this app or whatever. And you don't have to pay attention to it. It is just doing this based on your voice commands. Really powerful stuff if you're not using it. So those are some quick win ways just to kind of earn back some more time, what to do with what we have, stuff that we're going to be driving and working and stuff anyway, but we're reallocating our mental space to move us forward to the goal. Now let's really look at the time that you have to create content. And don't worry if you have kids, I'm going to give you a short script later on in this video that you can use to get more buy-in with your family, especially for you moms, so it's completely uninterrupted time. So remember I told you to pull up your calendar for the week. I want you to pull out these Google colors that you can pick from just their automated calendar or just any calendar source. They usually have these colors I'm about to mention. But I want you to color code these time blocks based on how much time is available. We're going to break this down into quadrants. For the first quadrant, if you have 5 to 10 minutes, I want you to put this as the color as a light green. Second quadrant, if you have 11 to 15 minutes, I want you to make this a light blue color. Q3, 16 to 30 minute blocks, then I want you to make this the color light yellow. And Q4 is going to be 30 minutes to an hour plus, then I want you to make this lavender. The reason why I picked these specific colors is because you don't want anything that's going to trigger you from what you already would have or maybe associated with other stuff on your calendar. If it's red or if it's orange or things like that, makes you feel like there's an urgency or something's wrong. You have to play the mental game psychologically as much as you do with the literal tangible stuff. So be careful of what colors you choose. If you don't want to use these, that's fine, but pick colors that are not psychologically triggering you when you look at this on your calendar. Otherwise, you're defeating yourself, you're psyching yourself out, and you don't even realize what's happening. But the reason we're breaking this down is because I want you to see where your time is going, and color coding that makes it super easy. And this will allow you to put in the time block specifically of what content you can create during that time slot instead of looking at it like it's not enough time to make what I need to get done. So let me introduce you to my content quadrant. This thing has saved me tremendously and was something that I came up with having stage 4 endometriosis. And I may only have some of these time blocks available simply based on how I feel and based on where my schedule was, and that could vary from day to day. So if you have some kind of an illness or some kind of chronic disease or whatever, this will work for you. I literally still use this to this day. Now, if you have my book, The One Right Video, if you look on page 118, you'll see an image of this. Otherwise, we'll put a graphic on the screen so you can see what I'm talking about. For Q1, this is what I call my quick hitters. Quick hitters are 60 to 90 seconds long, and this is where they both will match up from the other quadrant that I talked about. How much time do you have to record? Now we're looking at the finished time of that video. So obviously this is your shorts, this is your reels, these are your stories. You can squeeze this time in. So even if you don't have time to maybe record a short or you don't have the script written out, you can do stories because it's only 15 seconds or less at the bare minimum. So what thing can you share or talk about that is a point, a quick tip, a quick something that you can discuss relevant to your niche or your ideal target audience? You have space to make this content even when you're super busy. It could be based on what you're already doing. Q2 is going to be your light planners. This is going to be anywhere from 2 to 4 minutes for the final video. If you look at how much time we're allocating towards recording, these sync up almost perfectly. Q3 is going to be 3 to 7 minutes for your medium planners, and Q4 is going to be 6 to 12 minutes for your hard hitters. These are going to be videos that require way more from you. Maybe there's different segments that you need to record and do it together, and it just takes a lot more resources to put the Q4 videos together, or it's just simply long as far as time is concerned. So the content quadrant is based on how long does it take me to record this video and how long is that final video going to be, because that'll also give you some insight into how much editing and processing and work and stuff is required for that. So now you don't have to stress if you see 5 or 10 minute blocks. You can say that's a Q1. I can easily crank out some shorts and some reels. And when you start listing your video ideas, I use something like Apple Notes. You can use Google Notes, it don't matter. I just prefer you use one or the other because they sync up with other devices. So it doesn't matter whether it's your phone, if it's your watch, if it's your tablet or your computer, it syncs up synonymously. So wherever you start taking notes at, like let's say on your phone, then now you can start to put that towards whatever when you're working on the computer. You don't have to transfer anything, it's just already there. So now your social media time blocks that you were using for just scrolling through social media, use that time to plan out a short, or use that time to list and work through ideas of what it is that you could make stories about, what it is that you could talk about, what's relevant happening in your niche. And instead of looking at some stuff, maybe look up some things that are happening in your niche. Like for example, we recently had a bunch of debacle about like camera reviews and how good or whatever that is. I don't have to spend that time looking through maybe all of these different videos because that's more time consuming. Maybe I'm just scrolling through the transcript, or maybe I'm just looking at forums and seeing what's what in the niche or what have you. So using something that tracks the RSS for different blog posts or whatever, that's a good time to go ahead and just scroll through, make some quick notes, or copy and paste since you're using like a digital notes app. So you can just copy and paste it, send the link, and then you're done. So better allocate that social media time to something that's actually going to help you. I like to use that time for content planning. So pro tip, let's say you have another 5 or 10 minute time block, but you don't have a video plan. You can use something like Submagic AI to go ahead and edit that video for you. We're at the point now where what used to be a high paid job is something that an AI tool that costs pennies on the dollar can do for you. You can adapt your style, use your font, and all kinds of stuff. You can use the link on screen for like Submagic, should be like diana.link/Submagic, or linked in the description. I've used this before. It is super duper quick. So again, you don't have to worry about, well, I only have this time block to record. What am I doing to do for editing? You can use something like Submagic. This works for you. I taught this at a high ticket mastermind recently, and they were absolutely blown away because they don't have to invest that time either into an editor or into them trying to learn how to become an editor when that's not their sole focus and goal. The main thing that you need to keep your mindset set towards is nothing is a loss. I don't care if it is only a few seconds. Your mind now needs to reframe towards, oh, I can do a story with that. If it's only 5 to 10 minutes and it's just like, oh, I can do some quick hitters with that. Or I can drop in a Q1 video with that I've already planned some other time. You can plan videos literally on the commode. So what does this look like in a real life application? Well, I did a video a while back called like 5 settings that you need to change ASAP on your ZVE 10. That was a video I did while traveling, didn't have a lot of time. And me and Doc Rock was headed out, exploring Spokane, Washington. And so we had like separated and went off to go make some videos. And I can pull up my phone and I'm like, how much time do we have? Maybe like 10 minutes or something like that. And I can pull this up and search based on the title, just like Q1, Q2, that comes up with the title of my videos when it's ready to go. Now all I need to do, hit that video, which one do I feel like recording or feel most excited about recording, and I crank out that video. The video got over 10,000 views, and it was something I was just able to do real quick, took no time. And if you look at the time block, it fits right within the content quadrant. So what do you do if when you're recording in between your time blocks, you're constantly interrupted? Maybe this is your family, maybe this is your kids, or it's just things that need to get done like dinner or whatever the case. And it just kind of is breaking your flow state and you can't stay focused and it just feels like this time is a wash. Let's get into the script of showing you how to get more buy-in from your family, and a simple script that you can use with your family or your friends in order to get their help with you getting uninterrupted. Now, let me be honest and warn you here for a second. Some of what I'm about to say may be offensive to you, or it may offend you, and I'm okay with that because I'm trying to say this in love, never trying to be offensive, but if you take offense to it, I'm okay with that. So just know if I step on your toes, you'll live. The first thing that you want to do to get more buy-in with your family, number one, is have a reality check. This is real serious, honestly. Have a reality check with yourself. Have you been the kind of person that will habitually say, I'm going to do this, this is going to happen, I'm going to do this, and blah, 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 but then you don't keep your own commitments. And so your family is used to you saying something but not following through, or you saying you want this but not following through. This is something at times I myself have been guilty of, or even in the business of saying this is going to happen, and then you get distracted and go do something else, and it's like, well, what about X? And it's like, oh shoot, my bad. So first thing is be honest with yourself. Now, if this has happened before, and chances are it may have happened a lot, you don't have to feel bad about it. It's happened. We're all humans. We make mistakes. We get distracted. It happens. Most people will simply apologize, but they never will recommit. You need both pieces in order for this to work. Apologize, acknowledge that you've made this mistake before, that it is your fault for things not getting to X, Y, and Z point, but you now need to recommit to what you actually are going to focus on. Don't list 27 different 11 things. Simply list what the one thing and one focus is that you're going to be doing, that you are recommitting to. Because if they don't believe what you're about to tell them or ask them, nothing else will matter. It doesn't matter how you craft what I'm about to share with you next. They will not believe you because they are used to you breaking your word, even to yourself. Now, here's the second thing. If you need to get help with your kids, or you need someone to babysit for you, or if you need your spouse to completely take over managing the kids for this allocated time, I'm gonna give you the script. Now, this will get you almost just about a guaranteed yes. I have not had this fail yet for people that I've shared this with, if you do it in the way that I'm about to show with you. Now, let's go through this script. Hey, Name, I need your help. You know, I've been super serious and focused on growing my business or bringing in additional income. Choose or replace that with whatever it is that you want. If it's both, then that's fine. Just switch the or for and, so that they know I'm doing this to bring in more money, or I'm doing this to do X, or whatever the case is. I'm seeing some progress, and I really need to double down for this to work and get some traction. I know you believe in me from our previous conversations about it, and I want to ask if you'll help me out by watching the kids one day a week for 2 hours. I can work around whatever days work best for you, give you some gas money to pick up and drop off the kids for that time, and even give you pre-made meals for the kids or money for food to make sure you don't have to stress about doing any of that. I'll make sure it's taken care of for you. I'm also asking that during this time, you'll be able to 100% manage the kids, so I can completely honor the time you're helping me and get done all the work I can in these 2 hours. Once these 2 hours is up, I won't ask you for any more time. I only need these 2 hours once a week. If you can't pick up or drop off the kids, no worries. I will handle that. Just let me know what time works best. Can I count on you to help me for 2 hours a week? If so, is there anything else I can do to help make this time easier for you while you have the kids? So why did I word it this way? Because we want to remove all friction and all pre-frustration that they may have around you simply asking, can you watch my kids for 2 hours every week? Also, if you know a definitive date where it's for 30 days or for 90 days, or since it's like once a week, we'll probably break this out into like 6 weeks. Put a deadline to it so it's never ending or just until. Then you can recommit to see if they want to do this again for another 6 weeks. But here's the pro tip. Do this with at least 3 different people. Why? Because you don't want to solely rely on one person. So 2 is 1, 1 is none. So we at least want to do 3 different people. Like it could be 3 family members, 3 friends, whatever, whomever it is you trust to put your kids with, and who obviously your kids get along with. Now here's the rub. Are your kids difficult for people to want to be around with? Are they struggling to really hang out with them or to just spend that time with them because they're problematic for them? I understand everybody loves their kids and that's amazing and beautiful and whatnot. But when you're asking somebody to 100%, like, don't call me for if somebody's misbehaving, don't call me for whatever, like 100% handle it. Like, I can't be disturbed, obviously, unless it's an emergency, then you would obviously want to know that. But just small stuff like they did this or blah, blah, blah. I 100% need you to handle this. So you got to know how much you're asking from that person based on your child. You will know your child best. So you have to be able to ask people that are more likely to say yes and who your kids already get along with. So take that into consideration, and sometimes it's a little bit of a hard pill to swallow. This script is simply copywriting in action. We're putting words to an offer of why we want people to accept it, and we're giving them an opportunity to say yes or no to this. So this is no different than how I may work to build an offer, working to script out something for a landing page that somebody's going to pay a high ticket for, or it could be a low ticket offer. Same rules apply. We want to answer any questions that they may have. We want to address any concerns that they may have and make it easy for them to say yes to this, with the added bonus in this particular circumstance that I know you already believe in me. I know you've been seeing me crank and do whatever it is that I've been doing, especially if you have, or acknowledge that like I haven't been able to give it my all simply because I've mismanaged my time, but I would love if you could grant me these 2 hours per week to help me recommit to what I'm trying to do just for 6 weeks. Then that way they can know that it's a deadline for this and this is not something that's going to impact their life for the next year. This is another reason why you want to have at least 3 people so you can rotate. So once those 6 weeks are over, this other person is able to do it for you or whatever the case is. And if you don't need them, that's fine. Just maybe say, hey, for the month of September, do you think you can do this? And think about the person, what they already have going on in their life. If they usually take a family vacation, pick somebody else. But this way you're not exhausting one person only, and you can rotate this out and nobody's super frustrated only doing this every so often. It's starting to make sense? Now, what if this is your spouse? We're going to do this a little differently here because here's the thing. Your spouse is not watching the kids. They're just 100% being the parent without interrupting you. The thing with this also is you have to be 100% committed to you doing your thing. So if you step out for water, don't. You probably want to be locked in as much as possible. Eat before you have to record, before that time block starts. But you need to get buy-in from your family and talk to your spouse and let them know the same kind of stuff that we talked about in that script. But I need this to be uninterruptible time. This means the kids don't knock on the door in between me recording because that can be heard. Or whatever the case is, that can you help me commit to doing this for the next 6 weeks or what have you. Then maybe you recommit that time into maybe it's only 1 hour or whatever, or maybe it extends into 3 or 4 hours. But then that conversation transitions to you having that conversation with your kids to saying, hey, this is do not disturb daddy time. Or when you see this sign or you see this note on the door, you be very quiet around the door and you're respectful of whatever. And maybe at the end of every week that you do this successfully, we'll go out for ice cream, whatever. I'm not really for the bribing the kids, but as an auntie, I actually am. But as a parent, maybe this is different, but as a super aunt, I always spoil the kids. So it's up to you. Use it at your discretion. Warning. If your kids or your spouse sees you break your commitments, this will fall to pieces. So hold on to your commitments, stay committed. Otherwise, if they see you goofing off during this time that you said was going to be so serious, they will not believe you moving forward, and like asking them to help you recommit again or whatever the case is, it will continue to get watered down time over time and it won't matter. So if you're doing this maybe for the second time or something, you need to acknowledge the stuff that you did wrong, or like you goofed off, you stepped out to record a sound or get a sandwich in between recording time. They don't see you committing to the time, they will not honor it, and you'll continue to lose that respect of that time, if that makes sense. Now, what about if you want to record, edit, and upload to try to maximize your time as much as possible during the day? This is extremely possible, and you can use some of the elements that we talked about today, but you're going to need this content quadrant if you're going to move into the video that's coming up on the screen right now. You can check that out, and that will help you take the content quadrant concept and bake it into recording, editing, and upload it, because if you don't have it, it won't work. So I'll see you in the next video.